this panel is called Tell Me How Long, and it's inspired by a video in the documentary Chasing Corals. And it's mostly about the future of the oceans. So just like COVID-19, challenges concerning the ocean do not respect borders, subsequently leading to the rapid spread of our faltering ecosystem. As we dive into the largest global ocean challenges and the means through which we need to address them, I'm gonna quickly play this video, which is about the future of ocean conservation, and then we will welcome our panelists.
I was just born. I've been crawling till I learned to walk. When I met you, I was so young. I didn't know that it could fall apart. Tell me, what do I do? Now I see what we've done, and I know that it's true. You gave me nothing but love. Tell me how long, till we see the pieces that'll break. Tell me how long, tell me how long will it take till we wake up, till we wake up. Tell me how long, till we wake up. I've been trying to tell you what's inside my soul. I've been dying, but the ocean changes slow, and it's hard to see it, but I know that it's true, that I gotta be better, so much better to you. Tell me how long, till we see the pieces that'll break. Tell me how long, tell me how long will it take till we wake up, till we wake up. Tell me how long, till we wake up. I know we're gonna wake up. I scream in color. Tell me, can you hear me through the waves? If we keep on waiting, do we lose the things that we can save? If we hold each other, we don't have to let it slip away. We don't have to let this slip away. Tell me how long, till we see the pieces that'll break. Tell me how long, tell me how long will it take till we wake up, till we wake up. Tell me how long, till we wake up. I know we're gonna wake up. I know we're gonna wake up.
Okay, the reason I wanted to share this video is because a little bit of background on this event actually is a couple of months ago, I decided that I wanted to hold an event for World Oceans Day, and as a teenager, I think a lot of people listen to music, and I found that I've become very, very dependent on it. I found that I've become very dependent on music, so I wanted to hold a music festival for the oceans. But then, COVID, and to hold a music festival, you need a music license, and very few places have that. So I decided to change the format of the event. But I wanted to do the event under kind of a campaign run in the US by the Ocean Agency called Glow Night. And so in the video, this picture actually, corals before they bleach, they fluoresce. It's a form of coral sunscreen. And so the Ocean Agency worked with Pantone to create 3 paint colors, which were then used in a campaign to encourage kind of action for the environment. They worked with a lot of designers and a lot of people to hold glowing events. And so I wanted to hold a kind of fluorescent neon music festival, but that didn't happen because of COVID. So here we are. But I think that I still wanted to add that element in of kind of like how creativity definitely does have a place in conservation, as well as, you know, kind of bouncing off the idea of what's actually happening below the surface of the water, and how we can improve the state of that. If we can go to the next slide, I can introduce our panelists. So our first panelist is Jo Chung. I've actually been somebody who's been accused to give my dad a lot of credit and not give my mom that much credit. So I think a few years ago, my mom was working at an insurance company, and I told her I was very uninspired by her work because she wasn't having much impact. So my mom decided to move organizations, and she joined Maker Bay as the CEO. And over there, she met Jo. So it was very interesting to find out that they actually knew each other. But Jo is the marine biologist for the Hong Kong Maritime Museum, who's going to be talking about the work that the Maritime Museum is doing on their Discovery Center. Then we have Gary Stokes, who is the founder of Oceans Asia. I think actually when I was 10 years old, I did a beach cleanup with Gary. And there's an infamous picture of me and your son and Liam, who is another friend of mine, with a big bag of 202 plastic straws that we found. Tiny little beach, I do. The photo is actually on Caesar's TED Talk, so I've seen it many, many times. And then we have Sonali, who is the founder of Green Queen. I met Sonali at a conference at the start of 2020 in the US, and Andrea Ritchie. Andrea Ritchie is also somebody that I've kind of gotten to work with a little bit, because I was on the Hong Kong Shark Foundation team for my school, and she came and spoke to us, which was very nice. Thank you guys so much for being here. Do you have a microphone? Yes. The first question is, so last year I attended the UNESCO Ocean Literacy Summit, and the word integrated ocean management was mentioned quite a bit. So I wanted to know, what does the term integrated ocean management mean to you and to the future of the oceans?
Yeah, I think it's a very tough question. Integrated means everything that's related to ocean. So I think personally, I think not just all the commercial or the food source that we always think about how we connect to the ocean, but also emotionally, psychologically needs that we need nature. So everybody even though we are terrestrial animals, but still we need the oceans. So everything related to it, everything related to the ocean, to the planet, is the integrated ocean issue. But how about management? I think it's a really big word. So I will leave it more time for others because to speak about how to, what is integrated ocean management.
It's what it means to me is basically living at one with nature, being holistically sort of in balance with nature, and there's this blue economy that people talk about, which is obviously about how we can still live and thrive, but also, still have incomes and everything else, whether it's ecotourism and things like that. But we're a long way off. Obviously, the oceans are in dire straits, and we need to, fast track this in a big way. I think mainly it's just that whole holistic approach of being in balance with nature and being part of it. We are not separate. So
I think that's an interesting question. It's not a term that I'm personally familiar with before you brought it up, but I think for me, I've been in the sort of sustainable and green industry for a really long time now, and I think what I'm seeing today is a big shift in what sustainable living and sustainable decisions mean. And I think that we've done phase one, which is things like replacing plastic straws and, beach cleanups and sustainable seafood guides. But now, and especially in the recent with the recent coming out of the latest IPCC report, it's time for phase two. And phase two is gonna be a lot more brutal and a lot more kind of hard to do. But we have to stop living in an extractive economy, and that's what we're doing to the ocean. We just use it as our personal extraction bank, as we do on land as well. And we need to move to let the oceans, survive, thrive, replenish without us getting in the way. And I understand that there are probably everyone in this room thinks my view is extremely extreme, but that's my belief. I think that, we earlier we talked about, people need better choices for seafood. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, let's look at human behavior. We're all fundamentally concerned with our own survival. That's how we've evolved to be. And so on some level, we're all selfish, and that's because we have to be to survive. It's not necessarily a criticism, but it's a fact. And instead of giving us more sustainable options, why don't we explain to us how much plastic is in the fish that we eat, so that we can, make a selfish decision for our own health and not eat seafood as much. That's where I think the money should be going. I think that we cannot fight the consequences of climate change, which are already very real and already in our lives every day, without a safe, happy ocean. And I certainly didn't say this first. I think Captain Paul Watson of Sea Shepherd said it at the end of Seaspiracy. But if we don't leave the oceans alone, and that means stop using them as our dump yards, stop extracting from them, I don't know if we're going to get to phase three, which is hopefully the happier phase. And I understand that that's a very extreme view, but that's what I think.
Thanks. Well, since I represent Hong Kong Shark Foundation, I have to say that I don't think those are extreme views anymore. I think that pendulum has swung more to the center. And I just think it's all about education. And it's not sustainable anymore to not only eat sharks, but to eat seafood. And we have to get that mindset around that a plant-based diet is something we all need to move towards in the world, right? Not just in a few places, not just in a few communities. We need to step up, give back, and do the right thing. And to me, that's respecting the ocean, and that's respecting, people on the planet. And how can we make sustainable choices? And I just personally, as an animal rights activist, had to change from being a vegetarian to a vegan to a plant-based, because I just felt it was hypocritical and morally wrong to continue the destruction of the planet, especially the ocean. And I saw what was happening to the sharks, with over 100 million sharks being killed every year just for their fins, 270 million estimated to be killed for all the things that we're using the shark for now. And that demand just continues to grow. So I echo everything that everybody said here, and I think it's a good question, but let's talk about some of the action things that we've done and that we're all working on right now, maybe.
Yeah. I think, that kind of bounces off to the next question. So if everybody wants to share an ocean or sustainability related initiative that they're currently working on, then please go ahead.
All right, thanks. I think from the Hong Kong Maritime Museum, we're taking an approach of combining history, art, and science together to spread the message in a more human way, or it's a new way to connect people with conservation issues, because we find out that sometimes when scientists or a conservationist educator, they talk about the issues, maybe they kind of really focusing on the issue or the action and solutions, but kind of lack of emotional or cultural linkage, connection between people and why we need to conserve the oceans or the natural resources. So the museum is taking a new step forward to establishing a new marine science discovery center, trying to be a catalyst or a platform for green groups or other groups in Hong Kong to really learn more about, hear more about, look more about the knowledge about our past, to learn from the past, compare it, and then to innovate some new ideas, some new designs that we can move on to the sustainable future. So really looking forward to working with every one of you in Hong Kong and other parts of the world, because we really need to work together. Only scientists can't make things happen, but we need scientists, we need scholars, we need designer, educators, we need every people on board to really focus on the problem now we are having. It's really not a future problem, it's really having, we need to face the problem right now in here. So yes, this is what we are doing, and we are hoping that to work with everybody to get a bigger noise, getting more people together, like what happened 10 years ago, getting people all together to fight the same problem.
Yeah, so what are we working on? Many different things, different assets. We're trying to raise the profile of the finless porpoise, which is a cetacean in Hong Kong that nobody really knows about or cares about. So I've been doing lots of work with drones, and last year we got the first documented drone footage of our finless porpoises, and we built on that. We've got over an hour's footage now, and scientists can then take that data and actually learn about the habits and the behaviors of the finless porpoise. We can better understand them, and also we can try and get a better idea of their population numbers in Hong Kong, because the mass mortality rates we're seeing at the moment, we don't know if that's something to be alarmed of. If there's 10,000 animals, then maybe it's not such a problem. If there's 200, which was in the last survey, then it's a major problem. So we've got the finless porpoises. For those who saw Seaspiracy, one of the main messages out of Seaspiracy was the contribution the fishing industry is providing to marine debris. And I've got a big project I'm working on at the moment. We're just about to roll out a big report on is the role of the percentage of marine debris coming from the fishing industry. And people think that that's just fishing nets and abandoned ghost nets, but if you just go to any of our beaches and you just have a look at them, and you actually break down the elements that are actually on the beach, pretty much 60 to 70% that's on Hong Kong beaches can be attributed to 7 items that are all from the fishing industry. So from this report, we aim to then take on governments and get them involved to start clamping down, because the fishing industries tend to have a bit of a free rein. They have a big role within government, a big lobbying role. They get away with murder, literally. And I think if we can get the fishing industry under control, we'll get a large portion of the marine debris under control. And still working on sharks, obviously. So had a movie Fin just come out recently. So hopefully we'll be doing some screenings around Hong Kong. I'm just waiting for permission from Discovery, but that one, that'll be coming up. So we'll be doing a lot of promotions with that. That's a movie of Eli Roth that we filmed some of it here, right next to her office, and she didn't even know. But yeah, anyway, that's what we're up to.
I think we have a family friend called Nadeem Mazjoub, who is a marine biologist, and he's always out on the water because they live on a boat. And he said that he's been seeing a lot of dead finless porpoise, which he's been reporting to you. But I think it's really when you get out there that you see these kinds of things.
Awesome, Gary. Making the rest of us look bad. So I obviously will continue to be running Green Queen, which hopefully is really sounding the alarm and informing, educating, and inspiring people around Asia and beyond about everything to do with sustainability, which obviously includes the ocean and plastic waste. But I'm really excited to announce that coming up within I hope, fingers crossed, 1 week, I'm going to go live with a new venture called sourcegreenpackaging.com. And it's going to be the first global sourcing marketplace for forever plastics-free packaging. It's got a huge mission. We're really excited. Obviously, yes, a lot of marine debris is because of the fishing industry, but packaging is a huge concern. A recent study showed that 44% of all the packaging in the ocean comes from 4 food takeaway items. I have so many more facts like that if you need to see them, but it's just shocking how much our, convenience and takeaway culture is exacerbating the issue in the ocean. So this is definitely a project that is uniquely aligned with the oceans. Ideally, the best thing that could happen is that eventually we get to a circular economy and we don't need single-use plastic packaging anymore. But until we get there, we need options, and that's what we're trying to do. And we're working with people like Gary, with material scientists, with conservationists, with plastic activists, with toxicologists. I really don't think people understand how much toxic debris there is in all the stuff that we use every day, including the packaging that we expose our children to and our bodies to. So that's a huge part of our mission as well. And that is also going into the oceans, by the way. So further damaging marine ecosystems. And we have a huge job to do in terms of awareness building, and our hope is to bring everybody that is working on anything to do with plastic waste or ocean conservation with us. And we're talking to groups all over the world, but obviously we also have to provide people with solutions. And the other thing we're working with is startups that are looking to find solutions to ocean debris and ocean pollution. Like there's one startup that we're working with. What they do is that they collect this brown seaweed in the Gulf of Mexico, and the brown seaweed causes brown tide, similar to red tide here, and it's a huge problem for the marine ecosystem. So they collect it, and then they raise money to do lots of R&D to transform that seaweed into materials and packaging materials and textiles and nutraceutical and beauty applications, and all of that is actually a net positive for the ocean. So it's not just, we need to find new ways to help the ocean that also ends up solving other problems. And so we're trying really hard to connect startups like that to, PG companies and bigger kind of organizations that can help accelerate them. So it's a multi-pronged approach. We really want to be the ecosystem for green packaging, and we believe that will do a lot for the ocean. I mean, obviously, the best thing you can do is what Gary and Andrea and everybody's already said, but because of COVID, packaging has just exploded. And I'm sure you know this yourselves. E-commerce and food delivery have just gone through the roof all over the world. And so the reality is we are using this packaging, and we need other options. So I'm really excited and hope that you'll support us on the mission. And if you want to work with us, we're super open. We're working with so many different stakeholders and groups already. So thank you.
Fantastic, great work. Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Kamachi, for what you've done today. It's amazing. A round of applause. One of the things I really believe in is planting the seeds of change. And we're all educators. We're constantly planting those seeds of change. And our initiative, the Shark Ambassadors, which are, in many schools in Hong Kong, is how I met you at West Island School. And it's fantastic and amazing what students can do. The youth really are our future. And so both, Oceans Alliance and Green Queen and Hong Kong Shark Foundation, we're all working towards the same common cause. And so it's all about education. And one of the things we educate people about, and I've got this shark fin here, is that the toxins that you're talking about, that the plastics, right, single-use plastics and other things, PCBs that go into the ocean, the toxins that are in fish like this, apex predators, right, are things like lead, mercury, and arsenic. And so if cruelly killing an animal isn't something to turn you off eating it, and your parents or your grandchildren or your grandparents are still eating this, you need to educate them as shark ambassadors, right? Take that message out there and let them know that this is not sustainable and it's not good for you. And it's not just in this. In fact, we know now that in shark fin soup, but in all shark products, even like, I am doing some research on this now, squalene, which comes from the shark liver oil, right? This is a really common shark product that people don't realize. Many people take this for their skin, right? It goes in lipstick, it goes in women's makeup. These are all things that have driven the sharks to be near extinction. 1/3 of the species now near extinction. This is what's driving the species, and the demand is things like this. This is made in Australia, but obviously marketed to the Chinese market because it has Chinese all over it. And it's not just, a Hong Kong issue or a China issue. This is a global shark crisis that we're going through right now. And so that's why our initiatives are not just education, like the Shark Ambassadors Club, and the which is really an IB CAS-driven type of club, but corporate social responsibility. And right now, if you go onto our Twitter, you'll see there is a corporate social responsibility program called the Shark Free Company. And we already have 48 companies signed up. If you or your parents or somebody is working in a company and you want to give back and do the right thing, right? Get in touch with the Shark Foundation and jump on board, be a leader. We've already got, I have to tell you, there's more than 4,000 Chinese seafood restaurants in Hong Kong alone that serve shark fin soup. There's only 4 restaurants that don't serve shark fin soup. And those 4 are Maxime's, Maximal Concepts, which Craig Leeson's buddy Malcolm Wood is on our advisory board. You have Long Yun, and you have Dynasty. That's it. 4 out of 4,000 restaurants, as a policy, don't serve shark fin soup. So 2 ways you can get involved is to get your company to be a shark-free company, and we can tell you how easy that is, but also sign a petition we have. We have a call to action. We have a petition against the restaurant called Dao Hung. We did this with Maxime's before in 2018, and in 2020, January 1, they stopped serving shark fin soup at all 55 Maxime's restaurants. Excellent, right? And a shout out to WWF, because WWF earlier this year convinced Food Panda to pull shark fin from all of their menus. That's 450 items were pulled that were shark related. So it's together we work, right, towards a common goal, and it's education. And so those are some of the initiatives that we're working on, and they're not difficult. Just say no to shark fin soup is really an easy way. Don't eat fish and chips when you go to Australia, for example, right? Flake, #1 fish that they use for fish and chips, and that's shark, right? Lemon fish in New Zealand. Rock salmon in the UK. 10 out of 10 fish and chip shops in London were serving shark. 10 out of 10, right? You don't even realize it. Be an informed consumer. Don't let these companies just put it out there and say we don't have choices. We have choices to make. And I think we're doing that here from Hong Kong. This year I've spoken to 7,600 kids already, right? And I can do more in the rest of the year. So if you're interested and you want your school to be part of the program, to reach out to me, we can Zoom, or I can come to your school and speak. So thanks very much, everybody, and thanks so much.
Wow. I think I speak for most people here when I say I feel inspired. I think I had one question for Sonali before we open it up to the floor. So just before we got on, Sonali, you mentioned that you went to UWC in Singapore. So I applied to UWC, I think, last November. And during the application process, you have a final interview. And a lot of the time when you go to school interviews, you're encouraged to ask a question at the end. So I was kind of like racking my brains about what I should ask. And so I asked, the only person who I knew for sure was going to be interviewing me was the principal of UWC in Hong Kong, Arnett Edwards. And I gave a TEDx talk in October, and his talk was right before mine. And he mentioned, he discussed a lot of youth-based environmental conservation organizations and initiatives that he kind of supported and witnessed, grow from the ground up. And I asked him, what kind of advice would you give to somebody like me who's trying to start a project from the ground up? And he said 3 things. He said the first thing was be genuine. The second thing was work with people who don't support the cause that you're working for. And the third thing was bridge the gap between the older and the younger generations. So I wanted to know, similarly, what kind of advice would you give to young people who are looking to start off their journey as an environmentalist or an advocate in any field that way?
That's a brilliant question. I have many things I could say, but I'll say a few. I really like what you said, the advice about find people who don't agree with you. I think that's outstanding advice. I think one thing is, you can get completely overwhelmed by sustainability in general and the climate, crisis and marine conservation. There are big issues. I think it's really nice to pick a narrow focus and just go deep, become sort of an expert, do your homework on that. 2, ask for help. Find other people to help you. There's always so much more to be gained when you talk to other people and you bounce ideas, even if it's your family or your friends. But 3, I do want to iterate that one thing I worry about, because sustainability has become such a trend, is that there's a lot of ego warriors rather than eco warriors. And don't be an ego warrior. Like, do this because you're passionate about it, and act and really create impact. Don't do it to put it on a resume or because you think it's cool or trendy. So that's why it's so important to find the cause that you really resonate with, because there are going to be hard days. There are going to be days where you just want to give up and where it feels like nothing's working and everything's against you. And you really have to care so deeply and believe so strongly to keep going.
Thank you. I think I really resonate with that. Like I mentioned before, I think I was super burnt out a couple of months ago, but like just talking to people and like seeing that other people are doing things is very energizing. Particularly events like this, like I hope everybody, particularly the young people here, are motivated to kind of try and do something for the environment now.
Absolutely, but I will add one more thing. Social media makes it look like no one else is struggling, but everyone's struggling, and it's hard for everyone, and we're all fighting our battles and trying our hardest, and some days are really tough. And so just remember that. It's not just you if you're feeling burnt out, and burnout is real, and you need to take a break, and we need strong, healthy, happy activists, not, burnt out people. So yeah, that's okay. That's good. I'm glad you shared that.
I'll just add one thing. Cherish the small victories.
Cherish the small victories.
Absolutely, because they are few and far between. But just enjoy them while they're there, and that will just motivate you to keep going.
Yeah, I want to add one thing, is particularly to the young people who are listening, watching this. You have learned and hear most of us talking about what we are doing and what we have been through. But it doesn't really mean what you have to do, what things that we are doing or we have been through these many years. It's all up to you. The future is on your hand, and you're smarter than us at our age. So there will be a lot of innovations, technology that could help you to make our progress faster. So just take reference of what we have done and what we are doing, and then go for it and do what you're passionate about and change the world, change the people around you. If you get frustrated, just find anybody here to talk to, because we all got frustrated sometimes. So find your way and just fight for it, and we're all count on you guys.
Yeah. Like you said, like taking care of yourself, and the fact that everybody does get burnt out. When interning at Parlay, I've been working with somebody called Bodhi Patil, and he and his mom are working on an initiative at the moment called Ocean Health and Human Health, if you will. And it's about how, like, being an advocate can help you get burnt out, but it's important to kind of like take a step back when you need to. Particularly, like I could use the example, this internship was in the US, and so I had to wake up at like 3 a.m. for the calls, and it was really exhausting while also doing a summer program. And so he said, like, take a step back for a few weeks, ocean health and human health. But they explore the idea of flow state a lot, and the term transient hypofrontality, which is kind of an altered state of being. And it kind of talks about how, as humans, the way we work is sort of a cycle. Like every single action we take sort of inevitably leads to the next one. And yes, there are times when you will snap out of it and you'll change the patterns in which you're acting. But I think that if you start taking small changes, it can definitely lead to something bigger. So even if it is, you decide to cut out one type of meat from your diet at a time, I think it does definitely make a difference. And just because it seems challenging to start, don't tell yourself that it's going to be challenging in the long run. Look at the little things that you can do and make that start, because it's going to grow into something bigger. A lot of the time, understandably so, we find the concept of change kind of frightening at first, because we like to stay in an area that's comfortable to us. It's human nature. But I think that just because we're trying to live in a different community, in a future that doesn't necessarily exist right now, which is a super sustainable future, it doesn't mean everything has to go away. It doesn't mean that we can't eat dishes that have meat in them. We just don't have to put meat in them, but we cook them the same way with vegetables. I think, sometimes it's just the flavor that we enjoy, but they can be cooked in other ways. And so the idea of adapting is something that we have to get used to as well, as opposed to just looking at sustainability as like cutting out areas of your life. It's about changing them, keeping them, but trying to find a way to do those things in a different kind of nature. Yeah.
A lot of what we think of as, must do are just habits and culture. And there's that great book that says, like, in 21 days or 22 days you can change a habit. Like, we can change. It's just literally in 22 days we can have a whole new habit. And just remember, like, our brain is malleable, we are transformable. I think we always come at everything as no, everything has to stay the same, but everything's always changing. There's no such thing, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. It's like that famous French quote. Like, it's just, we are always moving, and you can change. Try it. You never know what new worlds will open up to you, And literally 21 days. Give yourself 21 days. If it all goes wrong after that, you have my permission to quit. But I don't think so. I think after 21 days you'll be different.
Yeah. If any of the panelists want to mention anything else, if not, yeah. Andrea?
Well, I'd just like to say there are some things that have kept me going. So if anybody's, thinking about becoming more of an activist, one of the things is think big, right? Have a vision, right? Ignore the naysayers. Very important, right? Because you've got your vision, you're thinking big, ignore the naysayers, but also give back, right? Make sure that you're in a situation where you can give back, whether it's to the planet or to animals, whatever it happens to be. And I think that's really important. And I try to teach that when I'm, planting those seeds of change with kids. I try to say, when the buying stops, then the killing stops, right? And that's really important, right? If we want to really stop decimating the shark population, just stop buying shark products. It's just that simple, right? And that little action can start with anybody. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to join an organization. You can just, in your own way, make that change, right? And do that maybe for 21 days, and the next thing you know, it's a habit for your life. So, yeah, those are just my closing thoughts on that. Thanks.
I love that. That was beautiful. Thank you. Do you guys have anything else to say? Any other questions from the floor? Oh, okay, we have a couple. Wow, a lot. Sorry, I think I was very interested and got carried away with my questions.
Yeah, because I heard just now that Joe talked about frustrations and Gary talked about victories. So I want to ask each of you, what was your biggest roadblock during your advocacy work, and what was your biggest victory?
Wow, I like this question.
Who wants to start?
I don't mean this in a political way, but I think our big one. I think the biggest roadblock we have is ourselves. You know, we are literally. Take that off. That's better. We're at 11:59 at the moment. The world is in dire straits. I mean, we've just seen with the IPCC report. You know, it is time to wake up. I mean, when you see the newspapers, the day the report comes out, it's about Britney Spears and, you know, her you know, whatever she's up to. Who cares, really? It's that serious. But it comes down to the inconvenient truth, right? And we need to change, and it's going to be inconvenient. It's very easily, you know, I mean, I get so frustrated. I actually get quite protective over Asia when I'm talking with people online about the shark fin issue. You know, it's so easy for somebody in the UK or the US or Australia to go on about shark fin soup and shark fins. They shouldn't be eating them. Well, it's because they don't eat them. You know, it's a lot harder over here to convince people. But the same way, if you tell the Americans not to have turkey at Thanksgiving, you know, I mean, they'll just go, what? No. People don't want to change unless it's something that is not going to affect them. So when it comes to change, we need to start looking at what is really going to affect us. You know, if you eat meat and fish, sorry, you might have to lose that. That's how desperate things are starting to become. And that's where we need to start that whole, you know, phase 2 or phase 3 even. But the seriousness of this really needs to sink in. You know, it's not just headlines for, you know, just to sell newspapers. This is actually our life support system. And that's where it gets really serious. But yeah. Sorry, was that a bit of a rant?
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, victory. Yeah, single, oh, wow. Yeah, okay, all right. One of my last campaigns that I ran with Sea Shepherd, I took the Ocean Warrior and a crew of 12 of us. We called ourselves the Dirty Dozen. And I went on an undercover mission to East Timor to go and hunt down 15 Chinese shark fin boats. And in 1 month, we arrested 15 boats, and they were wiping out 80,000 sharks a month.
The biggest sea shepherd wipeout of all
Apparently it was, yeah, okay.
Gary's very humble.
It was a good result. I mean, 1 month we arrested 15 large industrial boats, and they were held by the Timorese for 9 months and not allowed to go out fishing. And yeah, I guess that was kind of big.
It was very big.
Huge. Hello. I don't know if you've seen Gary on Netflix, like in all the movies. He's pretty huge.
Local
But
celebrity.
way too modest. I'm actually super bad at celebrating victories. I never think I'm doing a good enough job. I every day think I have to do more. I actually do my job because if I didn't do what I do, I would just be a severely depressed person, because I'm actually acutely aware of where we are with the climate crisis, which affects everything from our oceans to our land to us. And I think for me, the biggest blocker is I think we have become a society, a culture, a global world that only prioritizes convenience above everything else, above self-expression, above art, above creativity, above joy, above purpose. I find that so depressing, and I see it all the time, you know, in all my work every day. I try not to talk about what I do outside of work, so I just listen to people talk when I'm in social situations, and the only thing that seems to matter is the pursuit of wealth that we won't be able to spend and convenience. You know, I mean, now we are giving billions of dollars to delivery companies that can get you stuff from literally across the street in 5 minutes. This is what the collectivity of human intelligence is supporting. I find that just so deeply, deeply depressing and disturbing. And so I really just try to do what I can with my work to fight it. I think we are prisoners to things that don't matter. And I think that yeah, you guys have to save us. Gen Z, Alpha generation, whoever's coming after, you've got to save us. You've got to prioritize something else. We have this beautiful universe that we could, rejoice in, and all we care about is 5-minute 7-Eleven deliveries. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
No, my victory is just going to work every day, and I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still able to support my team, and that's my victory. I mean, there's no victory. Like, the IPCC report means I'm not working hard enough. Like, we have so much more to go. Not very good at taking that advice. I'll have to work on it.
I was talking to somebody from a corporate company the other day, not to name names, but I was talking about, trying to find a way to work together, and I said, we're more focused on ocean conservation than environmental stuff, but we're always open to doing other things as well. And they said, oh yeah, because like the air affects the ocean, and then the ocean, it was like a kind of weird reverse cycle of like how the earth affects the ocean. But then I was like, but the ocean is the largest driving factor of climate on the planet, and that's why it's really important to protect it as individuals. And I think that, like you mentioned, you're acutely aware of the state of the environment, and I think that it's really important that we all, like, Google is a tool that we all really underestimate. I think we should take advantage of that and like make sure we try to make ourselves aware and educate ourselves on kind of what is actually happening. Sometimes it feels out of reach. It feels like information about environmental conservation and things is something you can only acquire in fancy schools and things like that. But I think it's at your fingertips, and it's up to us to take that initiative to like find out what's actually going on. Sorry, Andrea, you were going to say something. I'll call Google.
So I think also the work that Gary's done is amazing over the years, but I think Sonali's a little bit humble too. Green Queen is an amazing plant-based platform that she also has an alternative protein, alt protein, publication, and she's doing so much by connecting people. I mean, I just live on the edge, for your information. So, there are very few people out there doing what she's doing. For me, giving back is one of the most important things. I come from the corporate world. I was a lawyer. I worked for a Wall Street firm doing corporate communications, and I quit that job to become a volunteer in 2015 at Hong Kong Shark Foundation. I've been in Hong Kong 30 years. I speak Chinese. I tick those boxes. But the best job I've ever had, and one of the most challenging jobs, is running a charity, right? And it's just, but anybody can do it, right? Look at what this amazing woman has done putting this together with all you fantastic volunteers, right? And IB, I have to say IB, International Baccalaureate Programs, when they put together CAS, Creative Activity Service, right? That is one way that charities can help and connect with kids. And that looks good on your CV for college, everybody, okay? Playing the violin, or these things that are, do something different, make a difference, give back to something. And so victories for us, I think, at the Shark Foundation have been things like Cathay Pacific. We worked with Wild Aid, and we tried to get Cathay Pacific to stop shipping shark products. And they would say to us that we only ship sustainable shark products. And we had to fight them about that, right? Because there was a really large NGO, that's really well known. And they said, well, we believe there's such a thing as sustainable shark. And we had to go against it. And in the end, in 2018, Cathay Pacific agreed no more shark is being shipped at all, right? So it's little victories like that. It's Maxime's, it's Food Panda, right? It's going to schools and speaking to 11,000 students in 2019, and this year 7,600 students so far by myself, right? Think big, right? Have a vision, right? And ignore those naysayers that say you can't do it. Right? And if you need to start a charity, or if you need to start something, that's great, but you don't have to do that. You can get involved little bits in helping any of the organizations that you've heard today, right? And be passionate about what you've done. And that will lead to your victories. I really believe it. And fulfillment.
Sorry, it's not a question. I would just would like to say something. I just would like to mention, actually, I never said this in public. In 2009, I encountered my biggest roadblock. I'll tell very, very quickly the story. I was a student, like all the volunteers are here today, and I was doing independent research on the radioactivity in the ocean. And I found that there was a lot of radioactive waste that has been dumped in the ocean. I publicized it on the website, and I came back from my school one day, and there was somebody behind the door with a knife who was trying to kill me after they destroyed my website. So I've been an environmental activist since my student days. And what I can tell you is that every year, there are more environmental activists that are being killed. Because the environmental crisis is increasingly accelerating, you will see a radicalization in the environmental movement. Like Gary spoke, like you've been part of this frontline fighter, and more and more of us will have to put our lives on the line. When I mean our life, I mean literally our lives on the line. So for me, my biggest roadblock and my biggest victory is to be alive today from this person who's trying to stab me because I was publishing about nuclear waste in the ocean. And I just also want to say, the first time I came to Cafe 8 was because of Marine Pierce. And all of us, I think, we came to Green Monday, and this person was in Green Drink, sorry. And he put us, actually, he was one of these people who, like you, who put us together. And last week, you heard Marine is leaving. He's going back to New Zealand, where he's from. And personally, it breaks my heart that we've lost, like Hong Kong is losing an environmental activist, a community builder. And you just mentioned you're going to UWC.
Yeah, I'm moving to Canada in 10 days.
Exactly. And it breaks my heart to see you go, honestly. Because you're such a brilliant young person, and you are like getting all of us together. I almost know everybody here, like all these are familiar faces. And so I really, really hope, for me, I look at the volunteers, and for me, that's the most important. They are the most important people in the room. I really hope that you guys will actually continue, what Kamachi is doing. I really, really hope you do that, because we need young people like you to carry the flame. So that's also, the more and more people are going to be leaving Hong Kong, more and more people will leave Hong Kong. We all know that. And so the people who are living here, we have to be connected, and we have to be strong together, because of course more and more of us will stay. And if we leave, we also should stay connected to continue this fight.
I really didn't think this event would get this emotional. Does anybody else have any more questions? Yeah, one more, and then I think we can ask questions during socializing.
Sorry, I wrote it down on my very fancy paper.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, I like to take notes. What do you see? What do you hope to see in the next few years, or let's say decades to come? And do you think we'll be able to accomplish this?
Yeah. That's a question that I think is very maybe critical to a lot of people who want to start. It's a little bit like, I'm one person, and what I feel like I can do is very negligible compared to the scale of the issue. So do you think if everybody does their part, there is a chance?
Yes, so answer your question is what I would like to see the most in the coming few years. Is people really aware the problem first? So what is the roadblock for me is people still not really think climate change and ocean problems is the problem to them. So they're still not seeing it because maybe they still live in the city. They don't really get really connected to the environment and where their food come from. So what I really want to see in the coming few years is people really change their buying behavior, consumer behavior. They really need to aware of the source of the things that they're using every day. Buy smart, eat smart, and use smart. I think this is what I really want to see. And I'm really hopeful because there are more opportunities and more alternatives out in the market, more choices, and people really open their eyes and see the options that are out there. That is what the change that I really want to see in the coming few years. I'm really hopeful for that.
I think if we just look back even just 5 years at the plant-based movement, you know, vegans and veganism was seen as like an extremity. It was just a bunch of hippie tree huggers, and it was just so far out on the outer rims. Now, it's a mainstream movement. It's the fastest growing food industry in the planet. The meat industry, the dairy industry are absolutely, in crisis at the moment. They're in crisis mode. They're all actually, most of the big meat companies are buying up all the plant-based meat alternative companies. So just in that instance, the world is changing so fast in the last 5 years. And that's, we all talk about awareness, but if you look on Netflix now, you'll see there are more and more and more environmental documentaries. And I really do feel that that is the way that we change, the general public's perception. I mean, when we were with Sea Shepherd, we were going down to Antarctica and chasing whales and the Japanese whaling fleet in Antarctica. Nobody knew it was going on until Animal Planet put it on Whale Wars, and we had a TV crew embedded with us on the ships. We took the whaling issue and put it in everybody's front room every Friday night. And that's when people realized, and now Japan doesn't go to Antarctica and kill whales. Not just because of Animal Planet or just because of Sea Shepherd, but it's this awareness level that we're all reaching, and it's speeding up so fast. And that's what's still, really, really exciting me, is just seeing how fast it's moving. I think in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be awesome. And I think we will get there because we've got no other choice.
We're gonna have a world of hippie tree huggers.
There's probably too many things to say, just because ideally we move to clean energy, we move to clean food, which involves clean meat, which is not just plant-based, but fermentation-based and cellular agriculture-based. We overhaul our economy to not be so extractive and only linked to GDP. There's a lot of new economic theory on that right now. But I think, for me, I have to say, we need regulation. We need meat taxes, we need waste, we need EPR laws, we need waste taxes, we need all of that stuff. And that starts with us. Fishing subsidies, we need that to stop. Meat subsidies, all of that won't go away without regulation. And that's why we need to vote better leaders in if we can. I understand that not everyone can vote in every country, but wherever you can, sign the petition. Especially today, it's so easy to sign a petition, it's online. I mean, go on a petition diet and sign 5 petitions a day. What does it cost you? And just be an activist that way, because we absolutely need structural change. Every single activist that you will speak to behind closed doors will tell you that, yes, activism is important. Yes, the media and attention is important. Netflix movies are important. Sea Shepherd action is important. Everything we're doing here is important, but we need structural change. Okay, we need, and most in the countries where we have democratic governments, those are our voices. They belong to us, those politicians, and we need to get regulation to change, because unfortunately, for some people, none of the rest will be enough, and we're just, time's up. Time is up.
Excellent. Well, for me, when I quit the corporate world, I tried a bunch of charities, right? I wanted to see, and I felt that the Shark Foundation needed a voice for the voiceless. And I was just so blown away, because I was actually negligently contributing to the shark destruction by, say, attending a wedding and eating shark fin soup, or not checking my lipstick to make sure it was squalene free, right? I mean, I didn't realize that. It's about awareness. And that's what our mission is at Shark Foundation. It's 5 words: raise awareness about shark conservation. And it's just such a simple message. And then people get involved, and it just snowballs from there. And we can do more. Everybody has the capacity, right? What was it Dr. Sylvia Earle said? Not everybody can do everything, but everyone can do something. And that is so true, right? 没有买卖就没有杀害，这是很重要了, right? When the buying stops, the killing stops too, right? And that is really what we need to do for the future, as far as I think sharks are. But remember, it's all interconnected. And when people are talking about their charity of children or poverty or elderly or disabled, that's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? But the way I see it is the environment is the umbrella over all of those older people and those poverty-stricken and those children. We need to protect the planet first. It's like when you're on the plane and they say, if the air mask drop down, put the air mask on your face first before your children, right? That's what the environment and protecting the oceans is all about. We have to put that air mask on first before we can think about poverty, before we can think about the elderly. Because what good is the elderly breathing bad water and eating polluted food? This shark fin has lead, mercury, and arsenic in it, right? I mean, we've got to do more, and we can do more. So, on that note, this is Andrea, and I'm finished. Thanks very much. Thank you, everybody.
Turned it off again. I think I'm just gonna wrap up really quickly. So if you guys want to take a seat, then I will have our volunteers up in a minute. But thank you so much to everybody online for coming to the event. Thank you to Cafe 8 for lending us a space, and of course the Nesbitt Center, which employs all of the workers here at Cafe 8.